The Dubois County Community Foundation has made changes to its granting process, and they're very important, and we want you to understand. Hello and welcome to WJTS in.form. I'm your host, Bill Potter. Joining me in the studio is Nona Baker. Nona is the Programs and Donor Services Coordinator, and also joining us is Ed Talucci, and Ed is on the Foundation Grants Committee. So we're going to find out about this change that has been made in the granting process, which makes things better for everybody. And so, Ed, I think we'll start with you. What is your involvement with the Community Foundation to kind of get us a little base?
Well, it started with involvement with the Ferdinand Community Endowment, which was established by the Ferdinand Chamber of Commerce back in 2001. And from there, it grew into more involvement with the Community Foundation in Jasper. So I wear two hats. I'm local to Ferdinand, but I'm also a volunteer for the Community Foundation, and I sit on their grants committee. I worked in grants for the state for 25 years, so I think that was my entree. I think like a bureaucrat and know about grants and not afraid of them, so they asked me to serve on that committee, and we set the rules for the applications and then make decisions on how the money would be awarded.
Okay, and I know that I've heard good things about your help that you've done for people, volunteering to help them with grants and knowing how to write grants. And it's appreciated in the community. I guess this is a question for either one of you. What has been the change? I mean, grants normally have a deadline, but
Correct.
Now it's different.
Correct. Prior to restructuring of the program, we had a one-cycle competitive process. During the late summer to early fall of each calendar year, nonprofit organizations were invited to submit their proposals for grant requests. And then it was a two-step process, meaning that the organization would submit its preliminary information. That would be evaluated by the grants committee, and then those who made the first round would be invited to complete the proposal and finish it. And then those remaining proposals would be evaluated and grants awarded competitively from those organizations' proposals. That was the initial process. What we determined is that it was not a very responsive approach to the needs of our community and our nonprofit organizations. So we restructured it in a manner that allows for nonprofit organizations to submit grant proposals at any time during the calendar year. They are no longer bound by a timeline that says you have to have your application in by a certain date and we review it by a certain date. Now we have a complete open process that will allow organizations to apply when they need assistance and when they have projects and programs that they're ready to launch.
So then will the grants be awarded in an open process as well?
Ongoing, year-round.
Okay, now this seems like a new concept. Is
it
this what's happening in Indiana, or is this just Dubois County leading the way?
Well, actually, it's a little bit of Dubois County leading the way. In a lot of conversation with my colleagues in program services, we had a various amount of responses of the how many grant cycles that they would offer each year to their organizations. Most are 2 or 4, some like 6 cycles, which is just administratively, I would imagine for them, not very easy to handle. When we're thinking about what kind of restructuring we wanted to do, it really came across why have a competitive cycle at all? Because that encourages people to submit an application for the purpose of submitting an application because it's time to do so. They may not be ready with a program or project at that time, but they may rush to get it in, and therefore their proposal isn't ready and it's not strongly considered. Doing the restructuring of the program and allowing people to apply at any time, it gives us the opportunity to really support their efforts on a more needed basis.
Right. When does this start? When does this take place? Is it now?
It is now.
It's now.
The new application, and we launched a new application on March 1st through a program called Community Force, and it is a fantastic online application that allows organizations to create their user profile, and then information that they submit regarding their organization remains with their user profile. So each time that they submit a grant with us, that information that they've initially put in will export to their next application, saving them a lot of time. That application launched on our website March 1st, and then we held a grants workshop to to debut the process and introduce the new application on March 13th, and Ed was our presenter.
Yes.
Okay, well, Ed, what if somebody wasn't able to make that March 13th date?
The overheads I used are online. They can visit that, and they could call us for technical assistance. I'm glad to do that. And it is, because it's a significant change, and it opens up to the reality of what our applicants are dealing with on a daily basis as a social service agency. It makes it more responsive to them, and again, it's a significant change because it used to be from the top down. Mm-hmm. The foundation was saying what they wanted from the agencies, and now the foundation is asking those applicants to tell us what's needed and what's needed right now, so that we can respond and we can think and we can cooperate with them on an as-needed, real-time basis.
Does this change then the people who are writing grants, I guess the paradigm of the way grants are written? I mean, is it a different way of thinking about grants now?
Completely different way of thinking about it. It's structured so that you have to follow a logical sequence in your applying for the grant. It makes it very simple. It makes it very limited in providing limited information. It's not a long, elaborate process. And again, one of the things that's so, I think, thrilling about this, having to write applications over the years, is that the base information is preserved. So you can apply 10 times a year if you want to, and you don't have to refill in an application. You can tailor your application to the immediate needs of your organization.
I think
big change.
I think for most people, grants are a daunting,
yes,
unapproachable sort of thing to do, and they're not that hard to do with a little guidance.
The dashboard to this application, it's very intuitive. We even debated about the workshop we put together, whether it was necessary to even show the application, because it's so intuitive. It has lots of bright colors, it has lots of gauges. The icons are very, very easy to follow. You can start the application, you can save it, you can go back to it and resume. If you have a question you have to answer. In the past, lots of times, these applications, you had to finish it at the time you were applying. This allows you to go back and collect your thoughts, collect your information, and then proceed.
And so now you can really have months to work on a grant.
Yes,
you got to get that done by this time.
By this deadline,
exactly.
yes.
Is the Community Foundation has the Better Together initiative?
Yes.
Can you explain that?
The Better Together initiative is our endeavor to help our nonprofit organizations in Dubois County collaborate with each other, connect with each other on a social basis, on an organizational basis, leadership basis. Every way that our organizations can connect, we want to help them do so, and we offer education opportunities to help them with their organizations and help run them better, help fundraise better.
And so you have workshops to teach people how to do grants.
Yes. Our most recent workshop was on March 11th, and it was regarding the Board of Directors' role in fundraising. So each nonprofit generally will have a board of directors, and it's not just the staff and the volunteers that have a role in fundraising for an organization. The board also has a role. So it was very well attended. We had over 50 representatives of nonprofit organizations, whether it be their board, their staff, their volunteers, that attended, and we had our presenter is June Miller from the Indiana Nonprofit Resource Network. She's a wonderful, wonderful presenter, just does a wonderful job for us. And the next one is Legal Tune-Up, and that's in May.
Okay, Ed, who should attend these workshops?
Anybody on the board or a staff member in a not-for-profit organization. There is the whole set of laws and regulations and reports that are required by the IRS primarily, who grants the 501c3 status, which is the status you've heard that number thrown around, for people to be not-for-profit. And there are very particular requirements that everybody on the board should be aware of, and certainly the staff should be aware of as they file these forms. So different policies that are required by the federal government, such as non-collusion affidavits, and it doesn't mean a lot to a lot of folks, but policies on guaranteeing confidentiality of staff members and all of this you have to demonstrate in a final report that's submitted every year to IRS. So that's what this upcoming workshop will
Legal
cover.
tune-up.
But there are different workshops on social media, actually the role of the board beyond fundraising, the legal responsibilities of board members, how to conduct a meeting. It's a range of topics that is specific to not-for-profits, and it's well worth the time of particularly staff members, executive directors, and board members to attend. And plus, it's a good place to network too.
And it can be somebody as minor as there are groups that just kind of form because somebody has a passion
Yes.
to get something done.
Yes.
But they don't really know which way to go.
Exactly.
And they may not be a huge organization that's going to last forever, just something for a short term.
Yes.
These are workshops. Can they call the Community Foundation and get information?
Absolutely.
Find out?
Yes.
All of the information regarding our Better Together initiative and the programs that we're hosting are on our website, and they're welcome to call us for further information.
Okay. Are there any new funds to talk about?
There are several new funds. The endowment building component of the Community Foundation is one of the most important things that we do, because it's through our endowments that we fund the needs for the nonprofits for generations to come. New endowments, we have an endowment for the Forest Park golf team. That was established by some folks in Ferdinand for the benefit of the boys and girls golf teams at Forest Park High School to see that their needs are met without having to do a lot of fundraising, so that will assist them in their needs for years to come. We also are now administering the Best Chairs scholarship, their corporate scholarship. It's a scholarship that is available to any high school student anywhere that there's a Best Chairs employee. It's their dependents who are eligible for that scholarship, and they brought that to us this year, and we're happy to have that opportunity to assist. We have the Dubois County Humane Society endowment, offering the opportunity for the agency itself to grow its endowment, to fund itself for sustainability for years to come. And also these endowments offer the opportunity for interested donors to donate to assist those organizations.
And these are just new ones that have
These
been
are
added to
just-
the plethora that already
Yes,
exist
yes.
with
Yes,
the Dubois County Community
over
Foundation.
300 endowments.
Now, the important thing that gets endowments going are people who are donors.
Yes.
Can you share a donor story with us?
I'd be delighted to. One of the most recent donor stories that really has captured our interest and our heart is a donor that came to us with a scholarship that he has offered for a number of years to Forest Park High School students that plan to attend Indiana State. It is the Teresa Jean Brooks Memorial Scholarship. Teresa Jean Brooks was the college sweetheart of our donor, and she passed away tragically in a car accident as a very, very young woman. And he wanted to preserve her memory by offering this scholarship. And for years, he has done so through the Indiana State Foundation. Very recently, he brought this home to the Dubois County Community Foundation, and now we have the privilege of assisting Forest Park students to attend Indiana State, hopefully for generations to come, and also the privilege of preserving this young woman's memory.
What an interesting way to have that donor. I mean, I think a lot of times people don't think of the many different varieties or options for donorship, if that's such a word, to be able to take.
Yes,
Is
absolutely.
there anything that either you would like to add?
Part of that, we have an anonymous donor, and this has spanned 2 years now, who has pledged to match building existing funds. So we've targeted as a group those funds that have not had activity in a number of years or have had minimal activity, and perhaps most of them are under $10,000. And what we're trying to do is get the activities restated and to engage the individuals who established the funds in the first place. The anonymous donor is going to match dollar for dollar up to $5,000 for these smaller funds. So we're working on that to get them engaged, and it may be that they only need $1,000 to get to $10,000, but if they can get $5,000, they're going to make $5,000 on top of that. So it's a great way to build funds, and in turn, that builds the interest that's generated so that they can award more monies too.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think sometimes we think of the foundations in Indiana being huge amounts of money doing huge projects, and sometimes there are small and they're just as important as the large ones are very important.
Yes.
But sometimes the small ones are important too.
And
Yes,
it's a great way
absolutely.
to build these. So.
I think most people think that donors are corporations and very wealthy individuals, but some of our biggest donors last year were a farmer and an educator and a UPS driver that assisted us in the greatest capacity. So it's each one of us can make a difference as a contributor.
Thank you both for being on the show.
Thank you for
We have been talking about now the granting process is open. It's going all the time with the Dubois County Community Foundation. Find out more by visiting their website or visiting their office. There are ways that you can give, and there are ways, I guess, that you can take, might be one way to put it. If you're part of an organization that is needing some funds, find out how issuing or applying for a grant can help you. Thanks to our guest, Ed Talucci, who is a volunteer with the Dubois County Community Foundation, and Nona Baker, who is the, I'm going to get this right, the Programs and Donor Services Coordinator at the Dubois County Community Foundation. We thank you for watching WJTS in.form. We are local people watching local people.